We're talking about this week. Donald Trump is 56-0 in congressional endorsements. Is this just the beginning of the MAGA momentum?
Oh, I definitely believe so. It started here in 21 when I won my election, along with 4 other Republicans took city council seats. We're a total of 5 now. That doesn't sound like much, but it is quite a bit. We've got a significant minority, so we're able to fight the battles. We may not win all the wars, but it's going back to your point. The point being is that everybody realizes that it's done. It's done. Nobody's buying into the Democratic malarkey, and what we've got sitting in the White House just keeps enforcing that every single day.
The thing we need to do to keep the momentum going is understand that as Republicans, we become the party of the working class. We've begun expanding.
Is that funny?
Some people think it is.
Hey, now, I was surprised to hear you use a term like malarkey, because I'm used to you using some other, a little more strenuous terms than that.
I got a shock collar on.
Do you consider yourself a Trump Republican or an establishment Republican?
Oh, Trump Republican all day long. Trump is the one who initially started this new wave of conservatism that's happening here in New York and around the country. So that's, where I got my, he led the way in a way. So if you look at when Trump first got elected, when it comes to the black vote compared to now, that's increased. So, there's more diversity. You see a lot more youth in the Republican Party than you saw when Trump just first ran.
Trump showed some phenomenal growth among Hispanic Americans, among Asian Americans, among different groups, among white working class. He has grown the Republican Party, and I think the ceiling has yet to be hit.
Many Hispanics are coming over to the Conservative Party. You, as a Puerto Rican woman, could you explain why you think that is?
I think that is because if you look historically at the elections, you can see that the Hispanics have always been in the back. But it's time. We're getting now, tired of being the last, being the least, and we do have talent, and we do have what it would take, I think, to make a difference in this hour.
I decided to write an article as if I was a left-wing radical activist who was sick and tired and threatened by the loud majority of these evil boogeymen.
And what was the name you used?
Well, I wrote a very detailed article, and I signed it off. Yours truly, Holden McGroin. And ladies and gentlemen, it got published!
56-0 in congressional endorsements is something that we shouldn't be taking lightly, and a lot of people want to say that he only endorses frontrunners. That's not true. And I say this, and I point to, and maybe it's not congressional, but Ron DeSantis, when he endorsed Ron DeSantis in 2018, Ron DeSantis was buried in the polls, absolutely buried. Now he's the best governor in the country. Thank goodness for that endorsement. And so I think that, I think that endorsement is worth its weight in gold, especially on the congressional side.
Do you think Donald Trump has to be on the top of the ticket for this momentum to continue?
Well, at the moment, Donald Trump is obviously the biggest candidate in the race. Until he declares he's not running, he's the presumptive nominee, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
We have so many just amazing Republican candidates. You have DeSantis, you have Cruz, but right now, as unbelievable as DeSantis is, Trump brings with him this fear factor that leaders all over the world, they're not going to cross him. He's that bulldog. He's that alpha male on the planet.
No doubt.
And right now, that's what we need to get this world straightened out.
No one is Trump. No one comes close to Trump. No one can get the energy he has. No one brings out the bodies. No one gets the enthusiasm, the excitement that President Trump does. He's a natural leader. He's a leader of our movement. He's a leader of our party, and he's the man we need at the top of the ticket for us to retake the White House, for us to retake the House and retake the Senate.
Could you do a Trump impression, your best Trump impression?
Well, absolutely. And I just have to say, you know, wise guys with Chad Tobacco and Kara Kestradova, you know, she's a fantastic person, too. They're both great people. And it's a wonderful show. And I just have to say, you know, the best is yet to come, believe me.
Hi, and welcome to the 700 Club. Happy Friday to you. A year ago this month, the United States withdrew from Afghanistan. The chaotic move not only ended a 20-year military presence, it also led to a major shift for America's intelligence community.
Well, now their focus is on the next great threat, China. CBN national security correspondent Caitlin Burke brings us the story.
U.S. intelligence experts are in the business of adapting. During the Cold War, the focus turned to Russia. After 9/11, the priority switched to counterterrorism. Now a new era is underway.
We see a pivot back towards great power conflict, Russia and China in particular, but also Iran and North Korea. Challenges from nation states, not from terrorist organizations.
Former CIA officer Paul Colby, now an intelligence expert at Harvard, says China in particular will be a long-term focus.
China represents an enduring threat. So for the next 1, 2, 5, 10, 20, 50 years, we're going to be having some of the same discussions.
To counter Beijing, intelligence agencies have quietly moved hundreds of officers and major resources to this threat. Last October, the CIA launched the China Mission Center, a unit focusing explicitly on Beijing. The CIA is also making emerging technologies a priority, given how the Chinese have used it as a primary means of espionage.
The Chinese have shown that they are willing to pursue our personal data at a scale unlike anything anywhere else in the world.
FBI Director Christopher Wray says China holds more U.S. corporate and international data than any other country combined, and regularly targets U.S. government, infrastructure, and research. Intelligence officials also believe this data is gathered through apps like TikTok.
If you can collect that massive amount of data on a regular basis, just using artificial intelligence and other analytic tools, there's tremendous advantages if you can get that.
Collecting data on Beijing, however, is no easy feat. China is a closed authoritarian state with a massive surveillance apparatus and major restrictions on what's allowed in and out of the country. Colby says the U.S. will need to take a play from their book to be effective.
To understand what's happening in China, to understand their capabilities, and to understand their plans and intention, what's in Xi Jinping's head, that requires a large, focused, patient intelligence collection effort.
Even as more attention shifts to China, intelligence officials say fighting al-Qaeda and other terror groups still remains a priority. Andrew?
Yeah, Caitlin, what do we know about the Chinese approach to espionage here in the United States?
Among the intelligence community, the Chinese strategy is known as the 1,000 grains of sand. A former FBI agent came up with the term, and he explained it by saying if a beach were a target, China would send in 1,000 tourists, each assigned to collect a single grain of sand. So basically, they send in all kinds of people, professors, researchers, doctors, businessmen and women, and the list goes on. And all of them collect low-level data, which then consolidated creates a large intelligence pool. Now, they've been doing that here for decades and have more information on the U.S. than any other country combined.
Wow, quite an illustration. What about how has technology changed spycraft?
Not only has technology given China a new means of data collection through cyber attacks or even apps like TikTok, which has 350 million American users, but they can now also put all of that data in a big pool and through machine processing and artificial intelligence, use it to target us more effectively. One expert I spoke to said we may never have Chinese Marines invading the coast of California, but we will continue to see them in our networks using our data against us. Andrew?
All right, everybody, that's Caitlin Burke, and we so appreciate her reporting. In other news, the Justice Department is set to release an important document today about the search of former President Trump's home. Ephraim Graham has that story from the CBN Newsroom. Ephraim?
Andrew, the department is set to release a heavily redacted affidavit by noon. It could provide some explanation for the justification of the FBI's search of the former president's Mar-a-Lago estate. The document might offer some details about the ongoing criminal investigation that has led to more legal problems for the former president. But the government is expected to black out sensitive information, which includes details about witnesses and the direction and scope of the probe. The release comes after a federal judge ordered the Justice Department to make a redacted version of the affidavit public because of the extraordinary interest in the investigation. Texas and a few other Republican-led states are banning almost all abortions this week because of the latest in a group of laws taking effect after the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. So far, 13 states have passed so-called trigger laws, which were designed to outlaw most abortions if the High Court reversed Roe. CBN's Tara Mergener has this story.
Trigger laws are written to go into effect after an event occurs. In this case, the High Court's ruling on Roe v. Wade. Texas, Tennessee, and Idaho were required to wait 30 days after the formal judgment was issued. The waiting period is now up. Most abortions are illegal in Texas, except to save the life of the mother, with no exceptions in cases of rape or incest. The response from opponents of the new law, swift.
And defend each other's rights and liberties.
Flanked by abortion activists after the law took effect, Democrat Beto O'Rourke attacked Republican rival Governor Greg Abbott, who signed off on the statute.
We understand the cost and the consequence of Greg Abbott being in office.
In Tennessee, abortion is now illegal at fertilization, except to prevent death or serious injury of the mother. The law does not criminalize women seeking an abortion. Tennessee and Texas are among more than a dozen states that have passed trigger laws.
We will closely scrutinize state abortion laws to ensure that they comply with federal law.
Idaho's new law that would have made all abortions felonies was supposed to take effect too.
The United States therefore seeks a declaratory judgment that Idaho's law violates the Supremacy Clause of the United States Constitution.
A federal judge issued a preliminary order Wednesday that the state's abortion ban violated federal law. But changes may not be dramatic. Many of these states already had laws in place that largely blocked women from access to the procedure, with many clinics no longer offering it or moving to states where it remains legal. In Washington, I'm Tara Mergener, CBN News.
More laws and lawsuits are still to come. Andrew?
Yeah, and certainly governors in this country have a